The smart people in the world keep telling us, don't believe what you see with your eyes. You believe what we tell you saw. But you and I think we may be dummies, but we know what we saw with our eyes.
Oh, we are true dummies, that's for sure.
That's right. Most
Good
people don't
afternoon, sir.
Good to see you, sir.
How's
Sorry,
my
I
buddy
jumped
doing
in.
today?
Doing great. It's hunting season here in Texas. As fortunate
Puts a
we are.
smile on your face every time.
Every time. We got rain. We have water in the marsh. It's looking good for ducks tomorrow.
Yeah. You hunting again tomorrow?
Hope so. It is actually a little warm, so mosquitoes. It's going to be good for mosquitoes tomorrow. I know that.
So mosquito season pretty good.
Yeah, it is. Well,
Back
hey,
talking
good.
smack to the right and the left, my friends. I'm Kevin
Yes, we
Steele.
are.
We are here to talk about the universe, your planet. We happen to both be sportsmen. We care about our universe, and we believe you should care about our universe as well. And that's a little bit of what we want to talk about today.
You can't be outdoorsman without an outdoors. And we believe
Yes.
strongly in the outdoors.
Yes, we do, and you have the pictures to prove it that you love it outside.
Yeah, we'll have to put some of those up sometime.
Yeah.
But hey, Kevin, we're gonna go through the program.
Let's do. And here is something that I think a lot of people would be maybe a little surprised to know
Right.
is that this whole matter of global climate change is not something that is above and beyond even two dummies in Texas. It's a simple matter of knowing what impacts the surface of the earth, the mantle, the crust, the outer core, the inner core of our planet, and talk about the carbon, which is impacting our atmosphere. And it's not something that's above and beyond us. Well, at least me. I don't know.
No. Well, then let's go through it. So you're showing a picture of the Earth,
Uh-huh.
and I see the beautiful blue on the outside. That would be the atmosphere, that little tiny part up at the top.
Let's keep it that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's keep it blue and nice, right?
Right. And below that, we have, everything else below the Earth's surface. And there is a finite amount of carbon. So what we're concerned about is the carbon that comes from below the Earth's surface and gets into the atmosphere. And when that happens, according to the experts, too much carbon in the atmosphere, a greenhouse gas, causes the Earth's temperature to rise. So we're tracking carbon. Well, I don't know that we're tracking carbon. There's a bunch of people flew out in jets this week to somewhere in Europe, spent gazillions of tons of carbon, or at least emitted that, to talk about what to do about climate change. But you and I know what to do. That's the good part. So while
Yeah, we do.
they're hanging around, we're coming out. We're quantifying the amount of carbon that we need to remediate. Right?
Uh-huh.
Remediate means it came from below the Earth's surface. Let's put it back down below the Earth's surface. But let's talk about what the amount is. From the oil industry, they're always most interested in the oil industry.
Mm-hmm.
There's 89 million barrels per day that's drilled worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
You multiply that times the amount of carbon in a barrel of oil.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see if you got this. Okay, yeah. If you look at that slide, it shows that there's, the numbers have changed some, but you see 21 oil production was down to 77. I think in 23 or 23, I think it's going to be up, but it still doesn't change all that much.
Mm-hmm.
So the amount of carbon in the atmosphere from oil shouldn't have changed much. And
year to year, it's about the same.
About the same. 80 million barrels a day, multiplied times 365 days, multiplied times the weight of the carbon in a barrel of oil.
Mm-hmm.
And You and I went through this one day, but there it is. A barrel of oil weighs 300 pounds. Now, these are round numbers. 85% of that is carbon. That's 255 pounds. 255 times 80 million barrels is 10.2 million tons a day of carbon. Multiply that times 365, we get 3.7. But it really looks like we got fancy there. 3.723 gigatons.
That was a good day.
Yeah, that was good. We really did some math. So that's the total carbon emissions from the oil industry. And that is equal to 1/4 of the amount of carbon sequestered from the world's forests. Okay. So later on, you followed up on a program in Kenya where they sequestered tonnage of carbon. There it is. And if you go through this thing, they basically I think it was a 10-year study, wasn't it?
They did a 10-year study. The general idea, according to the International Panel on the International Panel, on Climate Change and the National Academies of Sciences, suggests by mid-century you might need to, in some way, annually remove 8 to 10 gigatons of carbon dioxide a year to get to this net zero area that climate scientists say we need to get to in order to prevent further climate change. And it's always it's a battle to know how to do that without national economic suicide on a sort of an epic level. Some argue on one side that none of the climate change is just not a matter of any concern. And then some on the other side say we should do whatever it takes, alternative energies, wind, solar power, other. We need to be driving all electric vehicles by next year, that kind of thing. And we are putting forward the argument that if ever there was a time to find a middle way, this is it. You can't turn me onto this idea that if we were to approach this in a reasonable way where we can build consensus around the idea that there's a middle way to come to this, we could do wonders. We talk smack to the right and the left on this matter because we think our Earth and the beauty of it is just that important. And really, in Kenya, as you pointed out through the Kiss the Ground organization, we see that there are ways to mitigate this problem.
Yep, and in the Kenya project and some of the other projects we're going to look at later on, when you sequester carbon, you're also improving the soil. When you're improving the soil, you improve the grazeland for the wildlife that you and I like, as well as livestock that we all like. And so there's a lot of good reasons to practice good carbon sequestration. And you can call it that, or you can call it soil health. You can call it forestry management. There's any number of things that can sequester carbon, and they're all good for every other aspect of the outdoors.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm interested, or one reason.
There's ways to get to this place. It's the strangest thing that there's such that the sides really are so polarized on this on one hand, and that there is so much reluctance to see the views of the other side, on the other. But in Kenya, they proved it can be done. 30,000 farmers are involved in a project a few years back. And between 2010 and 2016, those farmers, in the growing of 3 million trees in Western Kenya, were able to sequester 345,000 tons of CO2. And,
isn't that crazy?
And improve the soil at the same time.
Yeah, I think it's important. It says farmers got payments and improved organic content in their soil. In something else we looked at that these people in these areas, a lot of times their biggest concern is starvation, not climate change. This
Mm-hmm.
program helped mitigate starvation as well. So, there's a lot of good reasons to do it. But I want to emphasize that when you look at that, you look at 30,000 farmers, 3 million trees, how much was somebody that was very interested in and concerned about carbon in the atmosphere should be calculating how much is that a tree, right? How many
Mm-hmm.
trees do you need to sequester all the carbon that we pull up from the oil industry, the coal, the natural gas, and other things? Urbanization causes a huge amount of carbon to come from below the Earth's surface, right?
Yeah,
Every
yeah,
time Walmart scrapes the ground to build a parking lot, there's carbon that's sequestered. Now,
yeah,
what happens then is it's covered over, so you put a band-aid on that scar. But what you didn't do, that section of land is not sequestering carbon anymore, right? It's not
mm-hmm.
like the pastures out at my place where every year they're sequestering more carbon through pulling the carbon down through the trees to the roots of the trees in the ground, through the grass that goes into the ground. So asphalt, concrete, cities in general, they're just not good for the environment. but we are.
Get rid of the cities.
Yeah, that's right. But we're good for the environment. And so we'll compensate for those guys because there's actually a lot more acres that are not cities than are acres that are cities. That's good news.
I'm going to vote for humanity every time.
Every time we'll take humanity and clean air over cities, pollution, and crime. Yes.
Well, the beauty of it, as you've turned me on to this idea of mitigating factors, better ag practices, and ways to do this over the course of time. I'm just getting more and more excited about the notion that there's actually something we can do on this topic.
I agree.
You
Woody
showed me
Harrelson says
some
the same
groups that are
thing. Yeah.
pulling, that are paying farmers to pull in their the carbon that we need.
Yeah. Well, don't you like in the Kiss the Ground video, Woody Harrelson says, I used to live in fear of climate change. He said, then I found out there was a solution. And, spoiler alert, the solution is good agriculture practices that, again, sequester that carbon back below the Earth's surface.
Mm-hmm.
And what people have not done to this point, you and I have done it, is tell us how much we need to sequester, right?
Yeah.
ExxonMobil gets crucified for polluting the earth. But if they said, but wait a minute, you call carbon dioxide the pollution, we can fix that. We can sequester that amount. How much did we pull up from the ground? ExxonMobil may do, a $500 million, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Big oil company. But they can do that with how many acres of, grazed land, timberland, cropland that's properly managed with no till and cover crops. And, we've got a video of the 5 practices of soil health. And if you follow those, you sequester carbon. That's what happens. That's the results of that.
We can mitigate this problem. We can fix some of this and get to a net zero place. Keep the oil and gas industries going to some extent, at least until, think of it like this, at least until alternative energies are formally worked out. Some of the kinks are worked out.
Yeah, we could, but let me just say one other thing: we could sequester more than we emit, right? We could sequester enough to compensate for years and ahead. The oil industry is not evil. Pulling carbon from below the Earth's surface and putting it back down below is like the ocean. The salt water gets pulled up in evaporation, rains down on us, and ends up back in the salt water.
Good point. Good point. We got to run, brother.
Oh, I hate that.
Take care. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Kevin. Kevin, are you there?
Hang on, sir. Can you hear me?
I can, but I can't. You're frozen on the screen, right?
Yeah, you too. And I can't even end the recording.
So I'm frozen too?
Yeah.